Hi guys, Rebol here. Just a quick note about this video. The sound quality isn't great. It's because we recorded it live and we had some technical issues, and the microphone I'm using is quite terrible. However, I ordered a new mic for podcasting and we won't have this issue anymore next time. Enjoy the show and thanks.
Who's from Cheshire, I'm from London, and who also has questions and comments. And so Steve is gonna represent you guys who have lots of questions, and I represent the BGA rework guy. We are live on podchip.com. We have also a chat room there. So let me not take too long and start the video. And hey, Steve.
Hey, Luffy, how are you?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, mate.
Not too bad, huh? How's Cheshire? How's the weather there?
Oh, the weather's pretty bad. It's raining pretty fast and pretty hard.
Yeah, that's it. It's
Pretty windy.
end of, beginning of September. British weather. Already the cold and wind and the gloomy weather started.
Yeah, that's correct, and the dark nights are settling in.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, if you can see the live feed, Steve, I've got this Sony laptop. Sony laptop. And took it apart, and I'm now about to take the motherboard off. The Sony,
Okay.
the story with the Sony, actually, the customer first brought it to me about a month ago. Straightforward reballing on the GPU, he asked. He said, can you reball the GPU for me? I said, yeah, fine. The first thing I said, has it been reballed, reflown, heat gunned before? He said no, he swears that he hasn't. So I said, okay, fine. I said, I'll reball it for you, and you can expect 7 to 8 months lifetime. He said, yeah, no, he doesn't mind. He said, as long as it gets him 6 months,
Okay.
whatever, at least so he can save some money and buy a new one. He paid a lot of money for it 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It's about 3 years old. Have you seen these laptops before? These
Yeah.
Sonys? The grey ones.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of Sonys, yeah.
Yeah, they're quite nice. They have a Blu-ray player, not necessarily for gaming, but they have quite decent speakers, 15-inch screen, high definition screen, quite good. Core 2 Duo laptop, 2.2 gigahertz processor. So it's quite good spec, But sadly, they do suffer from the video chip problem because it has the NVIDIA. I think it's 7950, something like that.
Okay.
The dreaded ones, basically, the ones with the GPU problems, 7950, 7900, which were designed in 2007.
Yeah. A bit like the HP DB369 series.
Same thing. It's the same chip for all the laptops. Basically, when NVIDIA designs a video card, and puts it on laptops, it's the same chip on all laptops, no matter how different they are. If it's a HP or a Dell, it uses the same chip on all of them. So if that chip has a problem with a Sony, it doesn't mean it's Sony's fault. It's actually NVIDIA's fault, because they made the chip and they sold it to Sony. But it could also be, the guy who solders it there, which is, for example, Foxconn makes motherboards for all types of brands and computers and laptops. So Foxconn says to NVIDIA, hey, I'll buy the chip from you and I'll fit it for Sony or Dell or HP. That's how it happens, So it could also be Foxconn's. I'm not saying that Foxconn did make this motherboard. I really don't know who put it all back all together, or who made the motherboard or soldered the chip into the motherboard. But yeah, they all laptops use the same chip. It's just that HP is more famous for the video chip failure, is because a lot more people bought HP at the time than Sony or Dell.
Yeah, they do have quite a lot of different models, probably compared to Sony and the likes of Dell.
And they looked nice, didn't they? Those HPs, you know them, the DV6000s, DV9000s. They looked nice.
Yeah, those DV3 and 6000s, 9000s, they are really nice looking machines. It's just a shame about the graphics issue.
It's a shame, yeah. Even today they still look nice. They still perform pretty well. They have decent speakers, HD sound, HD display. Of course, the battery doesn't last as long. But they're just more famous because a lot more people bought them at the time. They were just so different from all the other laptops. At the time, in 2008, 2007, all other laptops, remember, they used to look boring and flat and black. And HP came up with this DV9000 series, 17-inch screen. You could have 2 hard drives, Core 2 Duo, great graphics, shiny casing. It was just superior to in design. It was superior to everything else.
I'll say about that. There's a bit of a difficulty there.
That's okay. That's okay. So here I'm removing the motherboard and I'm taking off the thermal pads on the RAM. Now this is not going to be a video chip reballing video. I've done a tons of those before. This first one is actually going to be a video RAM replacement video. Now, as I said before, the customer brought it to me, yeah? And I reballed, and it's never been touched before, so I reballed it expecting at least 7-8 months. Now the guy, a month later, he returns. Just a month later. So I'm like, okay, cool. So what do I do? It failed after a month, so I replaced the GPU, the whole chip, replaced it with a brand new one. He was getting black screen before I reballed it. And after I reballed it a month later, right now I'm showing you, that's the processor, that's the Northbridge chip, which deals with the RAMs, that's the Intel Northbridge, and that's the GPU, the NVIDIA's graphic chip, that's the and those are the video RAMs, or VRAMs. So it's the RAM for the video, for the graphic card. Now, as I said, the second time he came and I replaced the GPU with a brand new one, and then a week later he returned.
Yeah.
But when he returned a week later, it wasn't a black screen that he was getting. He was getting lines on the screen. He was getting blue lines in the middle of the screen. It would boot to Windows. He had Windows 7 installed. He would boot there, load the full drivers. The NVIDIA drivers would load. But there's these blue lines. And the same thing happens on an external output when you hook up an external monitor. So I'm like, okay, so for us, the third suspect, or the last suspect, would be the video RAM. So I told him, we'll still give it a try. He was a nice guy, and it's never been touched before, so I really wanted to fix it. Removing the BIOS battery there, very important to remove the BIOS battery from the board because it will heat up, and I've had so many occasions where the battery explodes on my head. Yeah. You should. The first time I had this Xbox, I was doing Xboxes in the beginning, and PS3s, and I would always forget the BIOS battery in there, and then halfway through the profile here, boom! Because
the battery pops off.
The battery pops because it's got carbon inside. It's like it's like gunpowder inside, and with here it's just boom! It's so freaky, so scary, and sometimes it ruins the entire motherboard. The explosions are so high. The circuitry, it blows all the circuitry around the BIOS, so I end up losing the whole board. Anyway, so I say, okay, I'll replace the video RAMs and see what happens, because I put a brand new chip in there, and then we get in lines. And what happened as well, I remember sometimes there's a trick to see if it's the video RAMs that's causing the problem or not. And what I did is I pressed on the video RAM, the brick itself. You press with your thumb really high, like really put really high pressure on it, yeah? And then the lines would while the laptop is on, and then the lines would go away. Yeah,
because obviously the solder ball's cracked.
Exactly.
I take it.
So it makes more contact with the board. But you don't always get it. Sometimes I do this test, so I don't have to replace all 4 or 5 of them. So I only replace the one that's faulty. But in this occasion, I pressed hard on all of them, and it still had lines. So I had no choice but to replace all 4 of bricks. And they're cheap though. They're quite cheap. I got 4 of them for £15. And you could get Hynix or
Okay.
yeah, £15 from eBay. You could get Hynix or Samsung video RAMs. And the roll of them was just like, you know when you buy a graphic card, PC graphic card, it comes with 512 meg of RAMs, and those are the RAMs that do that. It's the higher the RAM, I guess, is the more more faster your graphic card is gonna do. Or but they do play a big role in failures, and they do fail because they do heat up as well. And at least Sony, puts a thermal pad on top of the RAM. The other laptops, they don't put nothing. They don't put anything between the RAMs and the heatsink.
Yeah, so the thermal pads are keeping in the memory chips cooler.
Cooler, exactly, yeah. For desktop graphic cards, they do actually pay a lot more attention to video RAMs. They do put very good quality thermal pads, and actually the high spec graphic cards, PC graphic cards, gaming graphic cards, they would actually put separate heatsinks for all the graphic video RAMs, and make sure the fan distributes cool air to all the video RAMs. And so I'm now tapping the outside of the video RAMs. Now I've covered the GPU fully, because obviously in this time I'm not gonna rebuild the GPU. I'm gonna replace the video RAM. So it's necessary to cover the GPU chip so it doesn't get any heat, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because when you're obviously doing the GPU chip, you would cover any of the surrounding components around the chip.
Yeah.
So it was just a chip that was left exposed to the heat.
Yeah. So this time is the other way around.
Okay.
So I'm covering the GPU chip because I'm changing the video RAMs. And I'm taking pictures before I do anything. I always take pictures before and after, just in case I would need it to show to my customer. And also, I took a picture so I know the realignments afterwards, how the chips are aligned, which way, so I can put them back according to the picture. So it's a good idea to take pictures. Well, I would say, it would be useful at some point.
Yeah, because you don't really want to get one of those video RAM chips the wrong way.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, even though I took a picture, I still did get one of the GPU RAMs the other way wrong. I'm telling you. I'm not gonna spoil it, but you're gonna see in the end how. But the video RAMs, actually, the manufacturers, they do help you out. Not just with GPUs, how to align them back. They put you little signs and dots, and you have to match the dot on the chip with the dot on the motherboard. But it's also the same thing for video RAMs. They do put you a dot on the motherboard, and you just match that dot with the dot on the video RAM. So alignment isn't really a problem. But because, I'm filming this at the same time as doing the work, can be quite difficult to multitask, and I don't think I'm a multitasker. So every time I'm filming something like that, it's very rare to get a success, as I told you before. I've always, in my past videos, even the ones on YouTube, every time I do a YouTube video of me reballing, the next thing is switch off the camera, go back and reball it again.
Yeah, I don't blame you in that respect, because if I was to do the work and I was getting filmed at the same time, it all comes down to nerves, and then you lose your concentration.
Yeah, it's very difficult to be able to do that. And I'm not the only one. A lot of my friends as well who do these videos, they tell me the same thing. We never get it right when you're filming yourself, doing a tutorial. You always have to do it one more time. And luckily for this one, they've sent me 5 RAMs. I purchased 5 of them, although I only need 4. but it's always good to they give you an extra one, spare one, just in case, and it was quite useful in the end. Switching back to the main view here, where I have a full view of the entire work area, and adjusting my camera. I have a camera that zooms into my chip and lets me see the solder balls very close up, so I can find out if they're melting or not.
Okay. What type of camera would you use to zoom right the way up on that?
Yeah, it's the camera is not important. It's the lens that's important. The camera is just a CCTV camera, just a regular 40 quid CCTV camera.
Okay.
But the lens is important. The lens, I got it. It's specifically made for BGA inspection. It's called BGA inspection lens. I would have to put the website not where I got it from. I got it from some place, but the information for it, the website where it tells you the specs and everything, is online. However, some of my friends, they buy this whole CCTV camera and lens, and the lens has this mechanism on it which allows you to get a very good close-up. But I think it's a Sony CCTV camera, and I would have to call my friend, and he would give me the details about the camera they're using. And it's quite cheap. They got it for about, I think they got it for about 70, 80 euro.
Well,
Yeah.
quite cheap.
And it's quite cheap, yeah. And this lens, the one I have, costs £250. Cost me £250. The website says it sells them for about £500 upwards. But this camera, for 70 second hand, you can get them on eBay. And it has this really long zoom and quite good close-ups. I will get the details on it. I wouldn't recommend them USB microscopes. The digital ones you can get on eBay and online, and they're cheap, £40. The problem with them is you have to get them really close to the chip.
Oh, like the I think they call them an endoscope.
Yeah, I forgot the name. It's them USB microscopes where you can see your hair and your nose, and you put them inside your ear, and you'll be able to see the inner of your ear.
Yeah.
Those, some of them wanted to use them, and the problem with them is you have to get them really close to the chip, that it actually heats up too much halfway through your profile, and the whole image becomes red. It goes red because of the sensor of that camera has heated up, so you can't actually see the final part when your balls are melting. That's why these CCTV cameras, and the one I'm using, is actually away from the motherboard, away from the heat source, so it doesn't heat up. And because this one, my lens is specifically made for BGA, I can actually put it very close to the chip. It will go to 250 Celsius, and the image will still be clear, because the glass is made for that. Where the cameras I was telling you about earlier, the CCTV ones, the normal ones, you can't get them too close. But they're pretty good, you know. I think visual inspection, to get close up like that, is quite important. You really want to see what you're doing in anything, not just BGA reworks, in soldering, in fixing stuff. You want to get as close as possible, because your eyes can't see that close. Your eyes will actually deceive you if you're trying to see if your solder is melting or not. Because solder can shine if it's hot, and you'll think it's melting, it's a liquidus, and it's not. It's very deceiving. I actually only realized that after I got the camera. Before I was thinking, wow, it's 220 Celsius, and the balls were shiny. Oh, balls are melting, cool. But no, with the camera I've realized, actually no, they are shining because of the reflection from my light. The solder was warm enough just to reflect the light, and look like it's shining and it's melting, but it's not. It was still as a solid format. So only when I got the camera,
okay.
Yeah, I was able to go real close. So the thing with the video RAMs is, here's the problem here, is I've only got one nozzle, so I can only cover 2 RAMs at a time. The biggest nozzle can cover me 2 RAMs. And if you can see the video, the other two rams, they're not covered by the top nozzle. Right?
Yeah, because I suppose you want the heat. You want
Wait.
you want all that heat just on basically them two rams.
Yeah, sorry, could you repeat that, Steve? I didn't get that last one. Steve?
Yeah, I was just saying, basically. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, obviously the nozzle will only cover two of those rams. So the heat is only going to lift them two off before the other two.
Right, exactly. So I would need both, because what I've done to solve that problem is use the heat gun, my SMD heat gun, to heat up the other two. So the machine is heating two, and then when it's the final step in my profile, I would literally get my heat gun and heat up the other two to remove them.
Okay.
Yeah, are we seeing the live? Is the live working? I'm not seeing them.
Yeah, I can see the live stream here.
Okay. Mine's saying is offline. Okay, well, yeah, so I'm hoping that will fix the problem. I've replaced them with brand new ones because there's no point reballing video RAMs. It's absolutely, they're so cheap. You can get 5 for 15 quid and you get them brand new. So you kind of reduce every chance of failures.
Yeah.
And the way my machine works, this machine that you're seeing, the Haunton R390, is it's got 3 heat sources. It's got the ceramic plates, which is the bottom heat, and then it's got a nozzle at the bottom, which is situated right under the video RAMs or the video chip, and then the top nozzle, which covers the top area. The heat plates are infrared, and the role of the infrared, the heat plates, is to give even temperature to the entire board. And then I've got another nozzle, as I said, the bottom nozzle is direct under the GPU or the video RAMs, that's giving hot air. And then on top, another nozzle which is also hot air. That's why we call them 3 points hot air machine.
Okay. So, what would you suggest would be the ideal temperature for top and bottom to make a successful lift?
Yeah. I think with the successful lift, it depends. If you want to replace something, you could go as high as you want, really. You could go as high as 260 Celsius on the actual item, on the chip or the video chip, because at the end, you're gonna throw them away. But let's say to be perfect, we know that lead-free melts at 218 Celsius. Lead-free needs to get to 218 to start melting. Not to fully melt, but to actually start melting. But to get it to fully melt, to fully be liquidous, we have to get it to 5 more degrees, which is 223, but 225, let's say. So whatever you're really removing, whatever it is, a GPU chip, a RAM, anything, it has to get to 225 Celsius to be able to lift it and remove it. But the thing is, you want to get to 225 in a certain amount of time.
Okay.
If you get to 225 quickly or too long, if you take too quick or too long, that's bad. You don't want it to be too quick. It will cause roping. The motherboard will rope. And if you do it too long, you risk destroying whatever you're trying to rework. So ideally, that's what manufacturers say, you want 4 minutes. You want to take 4 minutes to go to 225 Celsius.
So would that be like a preheat stage?
Yeah. Now the manufacturers say that a profile takes 4 minutes, but manufacturer like Intel has a multi-million-dollar rework machine. They preheat their stuff in a separate oven for 20 hours. The motherboard is preheated for 20 hours. So they do their stuff a little bit extreme. So we don't really want to follow the manufacturers. That's my personal opinion, because we don't have manufacturer equipments. Our equipments are quite good. They are pro, but they're not as good as their ones. So a DIY reworker like me, with a DIY machine, you want to do it, your profile needs to take around 8 minutes altogether, from start to finish. From preheat to soak to reflow, 7 minutes. And the way I do it is I get the board to warm up. That's the preheat. I get the board to go to 150 in about 3 minutes. Just the bottom, yeah? I'm not using any top heat. Just with the bottom heat, I take the board to 150. As you can see now, on the little screen at the bottom, the top temperature is 170, the green one. That's where my machine is set to. I told the machine go to 170. The bottom one, the red one, SV, is the actual temperature on the chip or the video RAMs. So there's about 20 degrees, whatever, 15 degree difference, that doesn't matter. So I take my motherboard first to 150, and then I take them to 170, and then I take them to 200, and then I take them to 215, and then I take them to 225. Now, are you getting this, Steve, or are you confused?
Yeah, I am.
So basically the preheat, the one you're talking about, is my 150, just bottom heat, 150. Say the board, go to 150, take however long, it doesn't have, take the whole hour, as long as you get to 150, that's when the profile starts. I think we lost Steve there. Hello, Steve? I lost you there.
Yeah.
So as I said, the preheat is 150. Up to 150.
Okay.
Just the bottom heat. It can take as long as it wants. You can take a whole 5 minutes on that. It doesn't really matter. Now 150 is when the profile starts. Then you want to take 7 minutes from 150 to 225, just to be safe. We're not going to be paranoid with freaks about profile. There is no perfect profile. I don't think I actually have a profile. I just do it on the go. But to be perfect, you want to go the next step to 170.
Okay.
And you stay at 170 for a bit of time. You stay for around a minute. You say go to 170. Once you 170, stay for a minute. Then go to the next step. Go to 200 and stay for 45 seconds. Okay, I've gone to 200. This is the temperature on the chip. This is both top and bottom. And then once you're 200, say, okay, go to 215. But don't stay too long, because that's danger temperature. That's when things can go wrong. That's when things heat up. So once you go to 215, but just stay 30 seconds. Okay, then go to 225 and stay 60 seconds. Now, during that 60 seconds, as you've just seen on my video, I've been, how's the term for it? Nudging the chip to see if it's melted. If it moves, if it's free, it's ready. Say, I'm ready. The solder underneath me is melting. Lift me now. So you want to make sure within the last step, we're giving it 60 seconds, remember. So you can take 60 seconds to lift it, but I would say on the 50th second, you want to lift. But don't ever, ever, ever lift the chip without the budge or the nudge test. You must nudge it first. Give it, you know what I mean? Nudge it. Just like I've done now with the tweezers.
Yeah, just Yeah, just to see if it had nudge out the way.
Exactly. So if it nudges out of the way, it's ready for lifting. But you must do that quick, because solder, especially lead-free solder, it cools very quick. I think you have about a 5-second window to lift after you move the top nozzle away to lift. Now, because these are RAMs, and the video RAMs are kind of in different positions, we're not just removing one of them. I'm not using the top nozzle of the machine. I'm actually using my heat gun and heating each video RAM manually and then lifting them with the tweezers. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna throw those video RAMs in the rubbish. I don't need them anymore. So I could take them to 270 to 300. I could burn the heck out of them because they're gonna go to the bin. So I'm using here my nozzle and do one by one, because it would just be stupid and time wasting to move the machine's nozzle to each one and restart the profile from scratch for each video RAM. And that's my way.
So you use the hot air as like a secondary way of keeping the chips at melting temperature?
Yep. Using the hot air nozzle to remove the video RAMs. And it works. But I'm keeping an eye on my temperature at the same time. I'm keeping an eye also at my BGA camera to make sure that the solder is melted. And here is the video RAM in my hand, just little bricks with tiny solder balls. It is reballable. As tiny as it looks, it is reballable. There are stencils for them. It's not a crime not to reball them. But for me, in UK, I'd rather buy brand new ones for 15 quid than waste an hour on reballing each one of them. But remember, Steve, for other guys, in abroad, in third world countries, £15 for us is a lot of money for them. So they'd rather reball them because it's more cost effective.
Okay. So where would you buy your video RAMs from? Do you have like a supplier, or a set supplier, or?
Oh yeah. I don't have one supplier for everything, but for these video RAMs, I look at both eBay and AliExpress, and whoever is cheaper, I get it from. AliExpress, this is the thing, not Alibaba.com. Alibaba.com is negotiate, talk to them, and then they will give you a price. AliExpress, the website, AliExpress.com, is the same guys, but it's like eBay. It's buy now, you receive it. If you don't receive it, it's you get your money back.
So, say for example, a board that you were reballing had some RAM on it. You could only, the cheaper option was to get the hand. Do you use Versa?
Sorry, 1 second.
It was the same size.
I think we're getting a bit of robotic noise from you. Maybe it's my phone. Let's just have a... Probably, let me just open the door because I think it's the Wi-Fi signal. Obviously. Sorry about that, because it's our first episode and we're still testing stuff. We're still going to have technical issues. What was that, Steve? Sorry?
It's just a question basically on the RAM. Now, obviously, you said you can get it from eBay and from the AliExpress website. I was just wondering if you were reballing video RAM and the RAM that was inside was Samsung, could you replace that RAM with, say, the Hynix RAM?
Yes, you could. Absolutely, you could. Yes. You could exchange Samsung for another brand, for Hynix, or Hynix for another brand. I personally prefer Hynix RAMs than Samsung because I've seen myself replacing more Samsung than Hynix. The thing is, you have to check, of course, the capacity, because there are those, I think, that do 64 MB and those that do 32 MB. So you have to look up the model number and find out which is which. You don't want to, but you can actually upgrade the RAM as well. So if you have a laptop that has 256 MB, if one has 2 bricks of RAMs, it depends on the capacity of each. You could add more, upgrade the RAM and add, because you will have the space on the motherboard to do that. You can. But just to be, to be safe, stick with the same brand, same model number, just to be safe. But if you want to be that geek and that modern and that looks super cool, yeah, you can change brands together. And here is the site clean when I'm doing the.
Okay. So,
yes, Steve?
sorry, I was just going to say. So if the video card had 128 meg RAM, for example, you could upgrade that to 256.
Exactly.
Possibly.
Exactly, by adding another 128 RAM, which would be 64 each.
Yeah.
You could do that. Definitely, it will work. It's plug and play, so it would definitely work. But they have to be the same. Cool. For example, you can't have 2 Samsungs and 2 Hynix. When it comes to upgrading, they all have to be the same. Otherwise, it won't work.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
You can have different capacity, but you can't have different models and different. When I'm doing the site cleaning, which is removing the old solder before putting the new video RAMs, I use lead solder to melt. I melt the lead solder on the tip of the soldering iron and collect as much solder as I can with barely any force. Literally no contact between the soldering iron and the motherboard. Just that solder in between makes the collection. And after that, I would get the wick, which is this copper braid thing, and its role is to suck up the solder because solder sticks into copper. And very gently in one direction using the soldering iron to clean the old solder. And this is the important part, because this is the part where it's make or break. If you apply too much pressure, you risk of damaging the pad. And if you don't apply enough pressure, you risk of the copper sticking to the pad, which also causes lifted pads. I would describe the pressure on the soldering iron as though you are writing with a pen. It's like you're writing. That's the amount of pressure you want. It's like you're writing with a pen. You're not pressing too hard, and you're not pressing at all. And you should feel the surface going smooth, because you're basically cleaning it. It should be very smooth. But some people say it must all be flat. It doesn't have to all be flat. There are sometimes occasions where solder just won't come off no matter what you do to it. And you say, okay, let me press harder. Maybe it will stick more. No. Enough is enough. Especially for very tiny pads like these, I would say 3 passes, no more. 3 passes with the wick, no more. 3 wick brand new, 3 wick pieces. So go the first one, cut it, go the second one, cut it, and it's still not smooth, go a third one, no more. And always make sure you solder an iron, the tip of it is always clean, meaning it should always be chrome. It should always have solder on it. Because if it doesn't have solder on it, it means it's contaminated.
And what type of tips for your soldering iron would you recommend?
Blade chip.
Okay.
The blade tip. It depends. I'm sure most of the soldering irons have it. I use this cheap 8D soldering station. Cost me about 80 quid. It lasted me about 3 years now, and it's working perfectly. The tips cost about £3-4 maximum.
Okay.
And you want to exchange your tip every 3-4 months. Get a new one. Because they're cheaply made, they don't last that long. They do a good job, but they don't last that long if they're Chinese tips.
Yeah, so say for example you were to buy the machine off eBay, just keep changing tips 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, if you're buying a machine, if it's an eBay unbranded soldering station, yeah, you want to change the tips every 4 months, 4 to 6 months. They're only 3-4 quid. They're not that expensive. But always make sure you clean the tip after each pass on your sponge or brass, whatever you use to clean your soldering tip. If the paste or the flux goes too brown and sticky, stop wicking, stop doing any side cleaning. You must clean that area and apply a fresh paste, fresh flux, and continue. Because when the flux goes brown, it's when it's contaminated, when it's done its job. It reached its limit. It will do more harm than any good.
Right. Okay. So, what type of solutions would you use in order to clean the brownness off the board?
Oh yeah, I use you could there's flux flux. There's alcohol at all times. Alcohol 99.9% pure isopropyl alcohol. You could use methane. Same price, but it does a better job, methane. But it's more risk to your health. So if you are allergic to something or your skin, avoid using methane. I use it all the time. But methane is pretty effective, pretty nice. Alcohol, I would say, if you want to go real cheap, you know, I'm not a scientific guy, but I've used it and it worked pretty well. So alcohol is expensive. Isopropyl is expensive for some countries. You could use nail polish remover. You use nail polish remover to do most of the cleaning, and then you finish off with the alcohol. So that way, you save on alcohol. You use a smaller amount. But for Europe, for UK, alcohol is what, 5 quid a litre? It's more than enough. Use alcohol at all times.
Yeah, and I take it you can source the alcohol and the methane pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, eBay. That I don't know where you could get isopropyl from shops. Pharmacies don't sell the proper one. They would sell you rubbing alcohol, which is 70% alcohol and 30% water. I'm not sure where you could get 99.9% from a shop. I think the only way is online. I think, in my opinion, and also the cheapest way. I'm not sure whether petrol stations do it. In London, I've been going to every single pharmacy. All have rubbing alcohol. I went to many petrol stations, Shells and BP. They don't sell isopropyl. Although the ones online is from Shell. It's called Made by Shell. So it's weird. In USA, however, methane is available on eBay UK. In USA, it's not. Maybe it's banned in USA. So I said, you know, if you want to be extremist, get methane, like me. I'm an extremist. But some people will say, no, don't use it, it's bad, whatever. I've been using it for a couple of years. I like it because it does clean better than alcohol. And here is the golden part. Just removed from the packet is the bricks of rams that I received from Hong Kong. Brand new condition. They come with lead free. I could spend time and convert them to lead, but I don't bother. I just use lead free. This guy would be lucky if he can get another 3 years out of it. Because remember, people say, oh, why lead free and lead, you know? We should not use lead free. It's gonna die again. But then I say, okay, how long did it take since you bought it before it died? It must have taken at least 2 or 3 years before it died. So I think it should last, you'll be very lucky if it lasted another 2 or 3 years. By then you'll have a new laptop. Your laptop would be too old, too slow. New stuff will come out. There's no point fixing something forever. Nothing's ever gonna last forever.
Yeah. Okay. But can you order the memory with less solder? You know, if someone did want to order them with that rather than they be pre-ordered with the dollar.
Oh, sorry. I think we have your voice is getting robotic. We apologize for those listeners, but it must be my phone or my internet. Don't think it's from you, Steve. You got a really fast internet, don't you? So it must be my phone. But I did get what you want. To find out if it's LED or LED free is your seller. He's the only one who's going to tell you. But of course, if you have a camera that can see the solder that close, and you are at 190 Celsius during your profile, and the chip drops or the video RAM drops, then you know it's LED. And if it doesn't melt in 190, then you know it's LED free. I'm showing you a very close up here of the video RAM, the old video RAM that I removed, to point the mark. You see that golden mark at the bottom, the top corner? That is the mark that you need to match with the mark on the motherboard.
Okay, so it's like a key. So you get the correct way.
Yeah. So you can't miss, of course. So everything is marked. Every chip on a motherboard is marked with a dot or with some sort of shape that you need to match with where it needs to go. The only thing that are not marked is, of course, SMDs like capacitors, but those can work either way. You can put them the other way around; they'll still work because they only do one thing, which is to pass current. But BGAs, QFP, and BIOS chips and stuff like that, those are always marked because they have to have a specific way to get soldered back. So I'm giving you a close-up here of how I fit the new video RAMs back, and I'm not even using the camera for this because it's so easy. I mean, it's you just have to put the square into the. If you remember when you were a baby, you have that game to match the shape with the. So it's just as easy as that. No need to look under or get a camera. I can just see the square aligned clearly and just align it as centered as possible. And obviously the solder will do the job later on. It will finish and realign properly.
Yeah, I was just about to say, so if it was like a fraction, and I mean like a really small fraction, and it was out, as the solder balls melt underneath, it would move the chip into the correct position.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So the next thing would be, of course, to apply solder. To apply flux before putting the video RAM chips back on. If you've seen my other videos, I always use the brush and then put the chip. But in this instance, somehow there's no rule, but my head is telling me, okay, just use liquid flux instead of paste flux. There's no reason. It's just this is my mind. It's just my mind was saying do that, and I do. There's no rules or specific stuff you need to do. It's what your head tells you to do it. There's no, rule book to follow one by one. My head was telling me, you know what? Maybe the flux is gonna be too much underneath the paste one, and I've chosen to use the liquid, and I'm gonna pour it all over the video RAMs, and it still did the job properly. Now, Steve, have you been experimenting with the reballing or reflows and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've experimented with reflows, mainly because I haven't got the advanced skills of what it would take at the moment to do a reball. But I do find that when obviously you do a reflow, it doesn't last as long as a reball, and that's mainly because the solder becomes to get weaker and weaker. And I think a tutorial like this is obviously beneficial for someone that wants to learn reball.
Yeah, the reflows, I haven't been reflowing in a long time. If something like, especially on a laptops do get moved about all the time. There is shock involved in there. and a reflow, you're just going to remelt a weak solder that's kind of over the last 3 years has lost its main ingredients to keep it strong and durable, and it's always a temporary fix. However, it sometimes, as I said, it depends how shiny the moon is on that night when you're doing a reflow. It could last for as long as 12 months. My wife's HP DV6000, I remember, lasted more than 12 months. Still works today. It was a weekend, and I was still reballing at the time. It was a weekend, and it happened. She lost graphics on her laptop. And I said to her, okay, you know what? It's Saturday. I'm not going to get back to work until Monday, but she really needs it to talk with her parents. I said, I'll just hairdry it until this weekend so you could use it. And then on Monday, of course, I'll give it a whole premium reball, whatever. And I've only hairdried it. And then it was Monday, and it was still working. I said, okay, well, you know, when it dies, I'll take it to the workshop and take care of it. And he hasn't. It's been, 2 years now. Now she doesn't have it anymore. She's upgraded to something better. But it still worked. Just with a hairdryer.
Wow.
No flux involved. No machine involved. Just a hairdryer. For like 2 minutes. But then, as I said, it really depends. Not every GPU failure is down to solder balls going weaker or crack. No. There are a million reasons. And there are reasons I and even the guys who made this chip don't know. Even Intel and Nvidia themselves don't know what caused it. There are 100 million reasons. Now, what we can do is, of course, replace the solder ball with a fresh one, with one that lasts long, and hope it will last permanently. But there are things that we can't do. For example, the motherboard. Let's start with the board. It's made out of plastic and copper sheets, and that board, when it heats up, it flexes, it changes shape. So that plays a role. We can't fix that flexing, heat, extraction, and whatever you call it. My English isn't perfect. Lamination effect. There is another problem with the BGA chip. There are inner solder balls, which the video chip is consisted of 2 layers. The bottom layer, the big layer that we all see, and then there's the die on top of it. You see, it is that mirror. If you look at any processor or video chip, you see the mirror that reflects you. That is the die. And underneath that die is very, very tiny solder balls. Really tiny, like a 0.1 millimeter. And those could also go wrong. And we can't know for sure. We can't even know if the solder balls under the video chip are bad or not. The only way to see cracks is with a super duper expensive, which we don't have, and some of the big inspection companies don't have either. It's an X-ray microscope. You can see extremely close up, but also in X-ray. And that's how you know if there's a crack or not. There's no way you could see it with your own eyes or with my super duper BGA microscope. So we're just doing what we can do, and we hope that that's going to fix it. Now, 80% of the time, replacing the solder of the BGA, no matter lead-free or lead, there's no big difference there. Sometimes I prefer to use lead-free solder balls instead of lead, you know, because I think sometimes it's the chip. Some of the chips heats way too much, naturally heats too much. Like even if they're idle, they're that powerful that even in idle they heat. So I prefer to put lead-free solder balls on them because it could cope with that. Lead-free is very good at coping with high temperatures. Lead, not that great at high temperatures, but very good in idle times. Where lead-free isn't that good on idle times. So we replacing it with a brand new coating of solder balls should 80% of the time prolong. I'm not saying permanent. No, permanent is not permanent. prolong the life of your repair, I see a minimum of 7 months and a maximum of whatever, infinity. With the reflow, hit and miss. It's really vague. This word is really vague. No one can ever tell you what's wrong or who it's gonna fix it for permanently. Nobody. And that who tells you that 99% of his reballs or reflows last forever is a liar.
Okay. On to putting the video RAMs back onto the board. Obviously you were saying you use flux, and it could either be a paste or the water-based flux. Which brand flux would you prefer to use, and which type would it be, paste or water-based?
The flux types, there are like 100 million choices, to be honest. You could go expensive and genuine, you could go cheap and fake. I would say, if you want the simple answer, the simple, super simple answer, there is only one flux that's cheap and simple and hassle-free. It's called Kingbo. Kingbo flux. 100-gram jar is about 10 quid. You're not gonna have problems. Buy that and you're sorted. You could use it for everything. Because I want this tutorial to be simple and easy and not complicate things, so let's not get to which type. Kingbo, and you're done. Once you get it, once you use it, once you're happy with it, then you can experiment with liquid flux. Liquid flux is, of course, liquid flux. It's not water. It's not water based. That means it has water in it. No, it's like water. It's like alcohol, but it's flux. It's the same as paste flux. Liquid flux is usually for reflows. And paste flux is usually for reballs, because paste has the quality of keeping the chip in place when you put it back on, where liquid flux doesn't. So I would say if you're doing a reflow, yes, use liquid flux. If you're doing a reball, use paste flux. So there will be less residue on whatever you're working. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, so it really doesn't matter which brand or I would say just Kingbo. Kingbo is nice. I liked it. I've been using it from the very beginning. Although I use 20 other types, I would recommend Kingbo for the beginner, even for the pro. The Amtech, however, is being faked a lot, so it's really difficult to make sure you get genuine Amtech. Amtech flux is the most popular flux among us BGA reworkers, and there are many types of it. But the good thing about Amtech is the website itself, because it's made in USA. The company itself released full sheets, full data, full results, experiments, profiles for their flux. And this is the other thing when we get to later is profiles. A profile is what a temperature profile you want to use to do that. And of course, this is the first episode. We're not going to cover everything in the first episode. We're going to talk about bits and pieces until we get to later on. It gets more difficult and more complex. But we're going to keep it in easy and simple. When it comes to profiles, you want to use the profile of your flux. And you can get data sheets if you search for them online on Google. Let's say you're using Amtech 443. Just Amtech 443 profile. Amtech website will give you the results on Google on that particular flux. What is its preheating temperature? How long? What is its soak temperature? How long? What is its reflow temperature? How long? So it should be very helpful to you. And you can tell in many ways if the flux is fake or not. The fake flux usually bubbles. Bubbles a lot. You see lots of bubbles around 200 Celsius. The genuine flux doesn't. It does the job. You don't see bubbles. And I think those bubbles, I'm not a scientist. I think it's because of the water in there or some form of fakery thing. China fakes everything these days.
Yeah, I think I've seen quite a lot of the Amtech flux on eBay, which is mostly fake. And you do have to be careful on where you're buying your flux from.
Yeah, you do, yeah. So even the fake ones, sometimes they put the price really high, so they would look genuine, even though they're fake. I'm not gonna say I can't tell you which seller, but you could join, for example, the Facebook groups for BGA reworks and ask there, or you could come to the forum. We'll have a forum at some point, and we'll have suppliers. But if you go to the Amtech website, if you're interested in Amtech, they have a list of resellers in many countries, and I'm sure your country has a genuine Amtech reseller where you could buy it from them straight away. There's also Amtech solder balls, I only use certified Amtech solder balls. They are much more expensive than your regular cheap solder balls on eBay. But just for the sake of quality, I prefer using certified solder balls. Not to say that the Chinese balls are fake and not good. No, I've been using Chinese solder balls, and I've never heard ones that they say there are stories you hear. Some of the solder balls are, oops, this is the moment the chip drops, the melting point. And at this point, if the guys are watching on YouTube, I'm not using the hot air top nozzle of the machine. I'm using my own gun. So I made the video RAM go to 215 Celsius. Then I started my hot air. Look, you can see me now manually heating each chip. And I could see with the camera they're melting and it drops. And because it's RAM bricks, it's very simple, not that complex. So a heat gun wouldn't hurt. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's a very simple chip.
And on your heat gun,
Yeah.
what type of air speed would you use while you using the heat to melt the balls?
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I used on my 8. What is it? It's an 898D. Let me have a look. This would be on airspeed airflow number 6. I want the highest possible, and temperature 350. And I'm I would say about 2 inches distance from the RAM brick. I would never go super close with it. Just about 2 inches distance, and it will then melt straight away. And then I'm going to give you a close-up of the final when the RAM is put back into the motherboard, and I'm going to show you the final project of how they look, how they aligned at the end, and how I can see the top view, because that's when you align a chip, you want to align it from a top view, from a 90-degree angle, this angle right here. And look how aligned they are. It's like they have a brain of their own, a mind of their own. They just go back to how they were. They go back to the exact position. It's wonderful. Really nice. So yeah, so I will, this is how I replace video RAMs. So using the machine and my heat gun. I'm not actually using the top air gun because the RAMs are situated in different places. The hot air nozzle from the machine won't reach all 4 of them. So I will have to use my heat gun as additional extra. And I think you could actually see that one of the RAMs was misplaced the other way around from the top view. So after I switch off the camera, I think I might have filmed it, how I actually went back and took that wrongly positioned RAM, but luckily they sent me 5. So it took me 5 minutes. I preheated the RAM to 170 from the bottom and just fired up my heat gun, lifted it straight away. Within 30 seconds it was ready to lift, cleaned the sights and put the new RAM again. RAMs are very easy. I would say to experiment, RAMs are easy. RAMs is half as easy as replacing a video chip or reballing a video chip.
Yeah, I take it that's because obviously the RAM chips are smaller than a video chip, so there's not much time needed in order to heat the chip.
Exactly. That's why. Yeah, it's a good point. It's one layer, so to be honest, you don't even need to go that high. You could lift the thing at 220 instead of 230 for a video chip. It's very simple, very easy to lift. And that's where the end of the video. So back to me. Back to the reballer. So hope you enjoyed the video, those guys watching on YouTube. And what were we talking about, Steve?
Just about the chips with the heat. Obviously, the video RAM chips are obviously smaller than the GPU chips.
Yeah.
So there's less area to heat up.
Yeah. Yeah, because the video chip.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, with the video RAM, you can go 220 Celsius on the actual chip and lift it. Where with the video chip, you're looking at about 3 or 4 layers of stuff, and it would need at least 230 Celsius. If not, sometimes I go to 250 Celsius to lift the chip. For example, PlayStation 3's, a PlayStation 3 video chip has heat sinks on top of it, and that makes it a lot more difficult to heat up. Of course, the ideal way was to remove that heat shield, but it depends. The bigger the chip, the more temperatures you need to go. So I would say with any video chip, the minimum you need to go is 230, the maximum 240.
Okay. Yeah, I think what we've discussed would obviously help any beginners out there and reballing, especially of these thermal profiles, what flux to use.
The one I use.
I just think in general the information that we've that you've provided with will obviously help all these beginners, because there's obviously lots of people out there who experience this type of problem. And I hope this video that you've created can insight some people into some of these repair shops that won't do this type of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it will help them.
Yeah.
Progress their careers.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, now it's to be able to do BGA, to learn BGA rework. It's a lot easier than in my time. Just when I wanted to do it, there was barely any there was no forums out there, no videos, barely any videos, and I knew nothing how to do it, knew nothing about it. I mean, I think how I started is gonna be a whole new episode, the whole history of it. But then now there's loads and loads of forums, like CVX Game Forum is one of the famous ones. There are reballers there from, of course, CVX Game Forums is more for console BGA rework than laptops and everything else. There are also Facebook groups, the BGA, just go Facebook type pages, groups, BGA, and you find tons, loads. And it's really nice because you can ask questions and you will find pros like me, and they will answer you and help you out. You can ask any question, but of course my point here is sometimes some people, the only way they can learn is actually by seeing it happen. That's how I learn. I have to have a look at what's going on in video. Actually, even pictures for me won't help. Like when I'm taking apart stuff like iPhones and iPads, when I look at picture how-tos, I don't get them. I have to look at the video to get them. Every person has his own way. Some people have to actually be involved in what they're doing to learn. Like even though they see a video, they really have to do it to learn how to, or see, like, actually touch the thing to learn. Each person has his own way of learning. Because I'm like videos, my way of learning is by video. As I say, well, maybe there are other people like me who like to see videos, but commentaries also help on top of that. But then, if you have any questions, whether it's about BGA reworks or whether it's about just normal tech fixing anything, as I said, if it's got a chip in it, we'll fix it. Anything, even a toaster, even we'll do our best to make a video of it and put it online, and also do the commentary for it. You can email me on the reballer@gmail.com. Send me an email of your question, and we'll be able to answer them here on our show. You want to do some emails, Steve?
Yeah, sure.
Where are you, man? It's like we lost you. What are you doing?
I'm just watching the live feed.
The guy's gotta pay attention, man. Suddenly we're doing a show live.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, that's fine. So I got an email from John Petersburg. Hi man, I saw your YouTube channel and videos, and I must say that I'm delighted with the work you're doing. We are actually counterparts, except that I do not have much equipment as you. I do repairs, LCD monitors, and laser printers. I have a simple solder station with temperature control and channel and the hot air. Okay, so I am very interested in the future BGA station, and I get to start working like you. I'm confused by the station to get. I know it's expensive, but I have already started working. I would do everything from mobile phones to motherboards. What is the recommendation for BGA station and from where to purchase? I saw the site www.bgastore.com, which is, yes, it belongs to my friend Paul. It's perfectly safe, perfectly fine to get it from that site. I'm from Montenegro. Not too busy with repairs, but okay. So he wants to find out what BGA station he wants to get, or what ways. I would say there are different ways. Yes, you can buy the BGA station, the most expensive one, and be ready to go, but you want to be economic at the same time. So the cheap way is the way I was doing it, the DIY way, where I would get a preheater and a hot air SMD station. I can maybe see if I could put a so we're looking at my screen now. So you're looking at, I used to do a griddle setup where I have this is really cheap, like a really cheap way. But I think now you could get a preheater, a professional preheater plate, big enough. Just type on BGA, for example, BGA. I think something like that, the BK7000. With the BK7000, it's only £230 with free shipping. It has the hot air on top, just basic. This is much better than the way I was doing it, with a sausage preheater and a hot air station on top. But that would be the cheapest way. You'll be able to do laptops, small laptops, but when it comes to Xbox and PS3s, no. You would need something like, and because you said in your email, because you said mobile phones, hot air for mobile phones is not recommended. Hot air is too powerful for mobile phones, you know. You will need dark infrared because it's much friendlier on the mobile phone side. Remember, BGA rework isn't just for laptops and Xbox. It's also for phones, for even hard drives. Any chip, any SMD needs to be removed. But hot air is going to be a lot more powerful. Infrared, dark, especially dark infrared, is going to help you do both. It's also a lot quieter and a lot easier. Because with most hot air rework station, you are looking at 3 hot heat sources. And it's a lot more complex. And because you haven't, this is your first time and everything, I would recommend, my favorite machine is the Ashi Pro SC. that would be my favorite station, and that is a 2-point hot air, sorry, not hot air, 2-point rework station. It's got dark infrared, heat coming from the top, and that is the cheapest station you could get actually, which is pretty good. And it also comes with a few bits and stuff. The other one that just came out, if you want a bit of luxury, I think it's called it just came out, I think Dragon Group China did it, which is a station where you could actually swap heads. You could have hot air, dark infrared, and quartz at the same time. I actually forgot the name of that machine, but my friend on Facebook here has it. Let me just log into Facebook. Juan Ruiz is a friend of mine who is the head of Dragon Group China, and he promotes that machine, which I quite like. And it's not overly expensive either. I just have to go through his whole profile to find it. Let's see. It's Bird, because it's definitely a Bird machine. They had the Bird 3000, which is a very basic machine, but cheap, but it's not automatically controlled. And then they had the Bird 6000, which is pretty good, and recently has been upgraded with very good top heaters and bottom heaters, the Bird 6000. Now they have a Bird something else. I just forgot. There it is. It's the Bird SD2P2, or the Bird 8888. That machine, you're able to do anything with it. But it's a 2-point hot air. It's a 2-point machine. It's not 3. But for a beginner, it's more than enough. Juan has done a lot of research on it. It's got touch screen. You just zoom in into the name. It's the Bird SD2P2. And of course, you have to check with your customs, with your country, how much you're going to be charged for custom fees on top of that. If you go on eBay, item number 200815030705, there's videos about it, reviews about it, and yeah, it's a pretty good machine. It also comes with a stencils kit, flux, and everything. The price is $2,500. So I think it's really all around machine. If you get the machine, you'll be good to go. You'll be able to do anything with it for a long time. Something cheaper than that would be the Bird. Let's see. It would be the Bird 6000, but the upgraded version. Let me see. It's the one with what's it called? Alstein heaters. Bird 3000 rework machine. Looking at can't find it. IR 3000, I think. IR 3000 rework machine. It doesn't have. People. IR 3000. Strange, there's none on eBay. Maybe they sold all of them, or maybe it's discontinued. I have to really check that. I think I will put a link into the show notes at podchip.com. But yeah, the cheapest one, actually, there is something else, you could actually build your own, which is, I'm going to do an episode in the future where I'm going to talk to one of my friends who built his own rework machine. If you need to know electrics, you see, I can't do it because I've never gone into, 240 volt wire and change stuff. That's not really my field. But if you're good at electrics, if you're good at, for example, if you can replace your power meter in your house and deal with the wiring and stuff like that, you'll be able to build your own rework machine, and you will need to still buy parts for it, like the temperature controllers and but you can save quite a lot of money if you build your own. But that will be on one of our episodes in the future, how to build your own rework machine. But for me, my machine, I use the Holton R390. I bought it for around 700 euros, and if I built my own, it would have costed me about 500 euros. So I then said, I'd rather pay the extra 200 and get my own shipped, ready, tested, and it's been working fine. However, it's a 3-point hot air machine. It's a lot more complicated to deal with and set up profiles for, but we will in the future explain how to use this machine and how to set it up and how to set up profiles with it. But I can't do mobile phones with it because it's just too powerful for mobile phones. Mobile phones require infrared, silent infrared. Infrared is friendly and gentle, and because mobile phone circuit board is very thin and things are so close to each other that if the processor, even if it's covered, the processor of the mobile phone is heated up just at a certain temperature, just 100 or 120 C, something could go wrong. That's why 2-point dark infrared is the friendly option for that. So look at have a look at Bird IR3 6000. Have a look at Jovi 8500, which just came out. Quite a pricey one, that one. Have a look at the Holton R390. And also have a look at the Bird 8888, which just came out. But if I find something cheaper than the Ashi IR Pro SC, I will let you know. But I would think for your budget, you will definitely like the Ashi Pro. Ashi IR Pro SC. It's definitely the winner for price. I owned this before. The version 3 is out. They added thermocouple to it. It's I hope they upgraded the heaters for it. I hope they're using Alstein heaters now. It doesn't say much here. It's got dark infrared 400 volt top heat, which is more than enough for doing mobile phones, laptops, Xbox, PlayStation 3s. The bottom heating is 2000, more than enough. Because it's a 2-point heating machine, not 3 points like mine. That means preheating time will be longer. I take about 3 minutes to preheat my motherboard to get to 150 Celsius. With the Ashi Pro, because it's underpowered, you will take about maybe 8 minutes to preheat. But that's not bad. There's nothing wrong with longer time, Nothing wrong with that. Everything's pretty standard. You must make sure you choose either 220 volts or 110 volts. If you're in America, I think it's 110. If you're in Europe, 220. That's very vital. Also, you've got it comes with aluminum tape, foil tape. You can connect it to your computer to see the temperature profile running on a computer, which is pretty nice. But with these Chinese machines, they can also be buggy. This computer thingy for me never works. But I actually just use the temperature on the actual machine itself. You just use the red one here is gonna be your actual temperature. I wouldn't say it's pretty useless to connect it to a computer and see. For me, it's really useless. No need for it. Also, always make sure you have an external thermal temperature monitor, not just the machine one. You can buy an external one for like $10, $20, just to be sure that the machine is not lying to you, that you're actually getting the correct temperature. Nice overall machine. Sorry, you will definitely like it. I had this for a few years, for for 2 years. I really liked it. I totally in love with it. But obviously, I've had the very first version, version 1, which was very well built. And then version 2 was, I heard horror stories. And this is version 3, so hopefully they fixed all the issues with it. So yeah, I hope you have an idea now, and I hope you're going to try out. And if you want to build your own, as I said, keep listening to me, and in future we will get a guest that will tell us the whole thing about building your own BGA workstation. Their way will be to do it the cowboy way, the way where you get a griddle from Amazon to do sausages, and you use that as your bottom heat, and then you use one of these. I'll get the camera. This is an SMD reworkstation where you could use it as a top heat, but then you have to do everything manually. You'll have to first switch the griddle and monitor the temperature to go to 150 Celsius, and then you start using the hot air SMD station, and everything will be done manually basically, but it still works. The important thing is why a griddle, because a griddle is big. The bottom heater, the heat that comes from the bottom, is very important. The bigger, the better. You want the whole motherboard to have even heat everywhere. If the smaller preheater, it means you only have heat in a small area, and the other side of the board will be cold. So the motherboard will not be straight anymore. It will just bend and flex and laminate. So yeah. So keep watching, and Steve, you are you online?
I am, yeah. Yeah.
Wait, I'm not getting you. 1 second. Okay, try now. Hello, Steve. Steve, I think I lost you. Steve?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Sorry about that. It's a bit of a technical fault. Yeah, in response to the email, that Ashi Pro with the dark infrared technology, yeah, I would invest into that particular machine for the one reason: as soon as you can get hold of that machine, it's up and go. You can start moving on onto your mobile phones, your laptops, your Xboxes, PS3s. You know, it's got the dark infrared there as well for your phone, so you're not damaging any of your phone's components. It looks like a good machine. It looks very professional. Yeah, it's the way to go.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree. For the price, $1,000, $1,150 delivered, plus let's say $100 customs. It really depends with your country. I think for the price it's a winner. Of course, it depends on your budget. The more money you put, the more features you get, the more gizmos you get, maybe the more quality you get. People say, oh, it's support. Support doesn't matter anymore. Support does not matter. There is a lot of guys, there's a lot of Facebook groups, a lot of forums. Support, you don't need it. Back then, we needed support. Like when I bought an SP360 Shuttlestar, and there was no support for it. Whoever sold it to me does not know a thing about it. The manufacturer do not reply my emails. I don't remember at the time I paid £2,000 for that thing or more. So I ended up returning the machine after a month because I literally didn't know how to use the thing. It was touch screen. It was all confusing. This was after the Ashi Pro SC, and there was nobody who was going to give me support. But if I bought it now, with lots of people now involved in it, and I'm sure lots of people own it now, and now the mods for the machine, you would not believe what we do to these machines. The fan mod, the modular mod, we change stuff. There's a friend of mine, I call him Doc from that movie. He completely transformed his rework machine. He has the SP360. He just changed everything. He placed the nozzles, added lights to it, embedded the camera into it. Now this new community now, not just BGA reworkers, but modders. We just mod the machines. But so So support is not the issue. You're gonna get support from us, from the rework community, from the forums, from the sites. So don't worry about that. But I think the SC Pro, it was and it's still the winner for all around BGA rework and for the price. And I think I couldn't agree more. And of course, you're still gonna need the other gizmos, you know, like soldering iron, a good hot air reworks, hot air SMD station, fume extraction, solder wick, solder balls, the jig, the stencils. A lot of things you're gonna need as well, which we'll cover the next time we do our shows. I think it's wow, it's about time. It's 9 o'clock here, and we should wrap it up. Anything else to say, Steve? Where can people find you? Steve? No, I think I lost Steve. Hello, Steve? I think we lost
Sorry, yeah. Yeah. It's sorry about this. It's a bit of technical difficulties again. Yeah, I would suggest you know, you need to work on a budget, and from that budget you can then choose what type of machine you want. But don't forget, you have got all the extras like reball as explained, which is your solder balls, your pastes, your fluxes, your nozzles, your soldering irons. You know, so take all that into account, and you know, obviously, you know, you're going to come up with a machine that is going to be viable to you. You know, and then you've got all the support you need on Facebook. Obviously, just look for the BGA groups, and there's tons of them out there. They'll all give you your support that you need. And then there's obviously, you know, load of forums on the internet you can look at there as well. And I'm sure any of the guys on any of those sites, they'll provide support and help for you.
Yeah, there's the CVX game forum for consoles mainly. There is the BGA store forum, which is for all around forum. And I think we should do our own forum for our Podchip website. Or maybe I will link it to the Podmas forum. But there's forums, Facebook groups all around. I also say don't blow the budgets too high, because the BGA rework market is kind of dying, you know. So it's no more there's no more that the market isn't that big anymore. So it would be wasteful to put too much money into the equipments now. So start as little as possible and see how your market goes and see how much you make, and then you could start, because these rework machines, you could sell them at any time. I used my Ashi Pro, I think I bought it for £1,200, and after 2 years I still sold it for like £700. I still made money out of it. So you could resell them and buy the next one up. That's also because it's just, you know, it's no longer the bubble is gone. The big bubble of for me, at least for laptops, where we used to get hundreds and hundreds of laptops every month. Now we can barely get, like, if I'm lucky I might get 10 a month. For Xboxes now, people are just fixing the last few Xbox and PS3s. The new generations coming next year, 2013. And you can even buy a new one. New Xbox is like 140 quid. But the BGA rework isn't just in consoles and laptops. It's also in phones, in hard drives, in cars, in airplanes, in everything. All electronics, there is BGA work need to be done. And certainly, the more expensive the device is, the more money you're going to make. And it's not bad, you know, it doesn't hurt to actually learn. If you already do fix stuff, fix laptops and computers and Xbox, and you want to learn this, it's gonna help you a lot to learn a lot more things. You're gonna learn so many new things that you wouldn't even dream about. And it keeps you focused. And it makes a whole entire person out of you. It makes you a much more patient. It makes you think outside of the box. And that's how I think we fix stuff. How I think I end up fixing things is to think outside of the box. And that's what BGA Reworks will do for you. Well, I'm going to end it here. So I'm going to say goodbye from the Reballer. And thanks for watching. Thanks, guys, who were online, live. As I said, you could always watch our next shows and listen to us live at podchip.com, or go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/reply4reply. You could also come to Google, follow me on Google+, be my friend, add me to your circles, the reballer@gmail.com. And that's all for me, and have a good day. Steve, to you.
Yep, it's the same for myself. You can follow me on YouTube. I've also got a website, stevescomputerfix.co.uk. You can follow me on there. It's got all details of how to contact me. YouTube's youtube.com/Steve's IT Solutions. So yeah, we're there to help. If you need any help, give us a shout. That's all, guys.